Well, good morning and welcome back to CityLine. As you saw in the wide shot, I have two very familiar and fabulous faces here in the studio to talk about the Tacoma Historical Society. I love it when they're in the house because I spend so much time in Tacoma and I'm in a lot of neighborhoods, and I'm always looking at things wondering, what is the history behind this? And I know that when these two are in the house, they can pretty much answer any question I would possibly have. So let's get to it. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Bill Baarsma, former mayor of Tacoma.
Yep.
You are the president of the Tacoma Historical Society,
Correct.
the board of directors, and not slowing down anytime in the future here, are you?
Not yet.
I didn't think so. Thank goodness. Welcome, my friend. With you is your handy sidekick here, Miss Deb Freedman, who I think she really organizes you and keeps you right on track. And Deb, you are the treasurer of Tacoma Historical Society. Welcome back.
Always happy to be here.
Always glad to have you guys here. Well, we're going to talk about this 12th annual Destiny Dinner, but we're first going to talk about the importance of it. And we have a picture of it because, we were talking in the green room about dinners, and it's like everybody does a dinner. You didn't say that, but I know that. Everybody does a dinner. Everybody does a gala. And sometimes it's almost just kind of that, okay, yeah, I'll come and I'll show up. But why is this more important than another one in your mind?
Well, I think
They're all important.
Thank you.
Yeah, they are all important. But if I had to pick, why would I pick this one?
Our dinners are unique in that we really don't toot our own horn very much.
There we go.
We focus on the city of Tacoma.
That's right.
And the people and the organizations and the events that have shaped our history.
Yes.
And this particular Destiny Dinner focuses on 1918, a year of destiny. It was a breakthrough year for the city of Tacoma. We'll be talking about all the things that happened that year that have shaped what we are today. Most importantly, obviously, the armistice was signed that day, and
yes.
That year, I should say, and it was also at a time when Camp Lewis became a major military center, which is now Joint Base Lewis-McChord.
Yes, it is.
And many other things, and Deb will talk about some of the other events.
Yeah.
Tacoma was a center of arts and culture during that period. The Broadway Center, the Pantages Theater, which is a part of the Broadway Center, and the Rialto all opened its doors in 1918. It's their centennial. Tacoma Little Theater, it's their centennial.
And
the port,
gentlemen.
And the port. Those are the first port commissioners. The port was actually authorized by the vote of the people in 1918.
Look at that.
And it now, of course, is one of the major container ports in the world. Started in 1918.
See,
You begin to see all the things that were happening.
I know I'm a total nerd, as my daughter calls me when it comes to history, but it's like this is the stuff that we stand on. And for me, who is invited to many, many dinners, this is a yes for me because it's like sitting down and watching a PBS documentary. I get good food, and I get to also talk with people who care about my community. That's a triple threat.
Yes.
I'm in.
And let me also say that we don't. There are no lectures or long speeches.
No.
We honor the year through music, through drama, through reenactment. That's the way we tell the story.
So, and Deb, I want to get to you in a second here because I want more about this theme that we're talking about here. But I also want to find out from you, Bill, why the Tacoma Armory is the venue?
Good question. Well, I mean, it couldn't be a better venue.
I was like, there it is, 1918, yeah.
Couldn't be better. Although the Armory predates 1918, it was around during that period. But obviously, it was a center of attention.
Yes.
And it became the kind of the venue for events in the community. This was built long before the UPS Fieldhouse or the Tacoma Dome, or even the sports arena that came later. And many, many important community events took place there. So we're once again using the Armory as a community event.
Yeah, absolutely. So Deb, let's talk about, first off, I want to find out from you, first off, let's check in on the Tacoma Historical Society Museum.
Right.
Tell us where it is and give me information about a current exhibit.
Happy to do that. Thank you.
Bet.
So we are at 919 Pacific Avenue in the beautiful Provident building that was built a decade before 1918.
Oh.
And we are open Wednesday through Saturday from 11 to 4, and we are always free. We're proud of that.
Yes.
And because we're small, we have volunteers on hand who can help with research or questions. We get excited telling people about the exhibit. Sometimes we forget to let them read the exhibit, but that passion is fun. And we often talk about, it's so much fun for us because also when people come in, they tell us stories and we continue to learn. So that's where we are. So yes, our current exhibit is actually what kind of came before the idea for the dinner, was we knew that it was the centennial of the creation of the Port of Tacoma. And we said, well, let's look through newspapers, let's research, find out what else was going on in Tacoma in 1918. And we knew from our Showtime exhibit that that's the year that the Pantages Theater opened on 9th and Broadway. That's also the year that the Rialto Theater opened. And both of those tie in now to the Armory because the Broadway Center is managing the Armory.
Yes.
So it's just a beautiful fit there. But the more we learned, we came here, we talked to the folks from Tacoma Little Theater and heard, oh, it's our centennial year.
Yes.
Our director, Kim Davenport, did a book on Tacoma's Lincoln District. The statue of Abraham Lincoln was finished and erected on his birthday in 1918. So we just kept learning more and more.
Wow, that year kept popping up,
Yes,
didn't it?
and as we did it, we knew that 1918 was a horrific year for the world.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
what
it
we
was.
came to realize was that the impact a century later on Tacoma was incredibly powerful because we still have the military, we still have the port, and most significantly, we still have our theater district.
Yes, we
We
do.
still have these clubs and organizations that started. So that's really what the celebration is, that 100 years later, we're this strong community because of what happened in 1918 for us.
So when we think about, let's talk about that 1918, because there's some young people who are watching right now. So let's give them a little history lesson here, because you're never too young or too old to learn about your history. So armistice ended. World War I took place in 1918. And the Tacoma Historical Museum is one of the few museums around, and also one of the few organizations that honors that Veterans Day. So let's talk about that.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, you know, we also serve as fiscal sponsors for community projects.
Yes, you do.
And so one of the things we've done with our local veterans groups and Polly Medlock, bless her heart, is research names of fallen from Pierce County and put them on monuments in War Memorial Park. And we now do a program every year on Veterans Day and Memorial Day down at War Memorial Park. And this year being the centennial of the armistice, we hope that schools will get involved and do flag gardens. We hope that people will come. It is a Sunday morning this year, but we are honoring the 11/11 at 11/11.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, the one thing that was really hard to understand was that the word armistice was just a ceasefire. It was not a victory.
Yes.
And that World War II was merely starting the fighting again with another generation.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. What do you want to add to that, Bill?
Well, the role of Fort Lewis is an important one as far as Tacoma's history is concerned. And there are many, many veterans that live in our area. And I like to think that if it weren't for the Tacoma Historical Society, there would be no events in Tacoma, if you can imagine,
Yes.
honoring Memorial Day or Veterans Day. I mean, we do it.
Yes, you do.
And again, we're not tooting our own horn. I mean, we're honoring the veterans. We're honoring those who've served and given their lives in service. And we're doing that as a community organization. We raise the money to make that happen, and we put the program together. And it's very brief, but it's a very emotional program. And,
Absolutely.
And it's an important gift that we provide the city.
You provide the city, provide our upcoming generations. I mean,
Absolutely.
I grew up every Sunday. We would walk to the family plot in Virginia, and we'd put flowers on fresh graves, and that's history in the making. That's not done anymore. And my daughter, I raised her like that, and that's part of her love of history, and her honoring her elders that made those sacrifices, and that's slowly going away in this society because everything is electronic. So I echoed what you'd said, Deb. I hope our schools get involved with this, and they do a flag campaign, that people show up and talk about great-grandfather was involved with this. That's why you do what you do.
Yes, and another thing in 1918 was the pandemic.
Yes.
It was called the Spanish flu, and it hit Tacoma in October of that year, and several people died, including one of our notable pioneers, the beloved Father Peter Hylebus, died from the influenza, and he established St. Joe's and helped with that program, and Tacoma General. And so that's another part of Tacoma's story of 1918.
Absolutely.
How we dealt with that.
And I think we also want people to know that at our Veterans Day program, we rent golf carts so that we can transport people not only down the hill but back up again.
Right.
So please let people know that that is not anything that should keep you away.
For that elder population that we are honoring.
Especially our vets who need that.
They do, absolutely.
Yeah,
so who do we need to thank in this last minute for, because nobody does it alone. You two, you lead the herd, but we got to be just some thank yous.
Well, first I want to thank the City of Tacoma for providing a heritage grant that allowed us to put on this exhibit. I think it's the finest one we've ever had.
Wow, that says a lot.
Yeah, I really think so. And we urge people to come and share it, bring their kids, because it tells part of that important part of our history. So we want to, and obviously our members and the people who support the Historical Society and all the events that we put on during the course of the year. We really thank them.
I want to thank both of you. What rings in my mind is my grandmother always saying to me that if we forget our history, we're doomed to repeat it. Which, you know, started out with, in my family, at the time, the big old family Bible, opening it up and all the genealogy, and that's how we always knew our history and who did what. But there's a bigger world out there about history and behavior and what's come before that you two are helping Tacoma remember the mantle of being better, wiser, and that we've been through this before and we're going to get through it and continue to move on. So thank you so much for being that historical, spiritual measurement of how we're doing. And bon appetit on that dinner, okay?
It's going to be great.
So should we sign you up for salmon or chicken?
Salmon.
October 20th.
October 20th.
That's the day.
All right. When we come back after this quick little message here, we will have the 2018 AMOCAT Award winners in the house. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.